This Monday, April 22nd, NBA Playoffs Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf, and more. Sign up today at UnderdogFantasy.com using our promo code NBA SGPN to get a 100% deposit bonus. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Monday, April 22nd, here to get into the three-game schedule in the NBA for Game 2 of the NBA playoffs. We'll recap what we saw over the weekend here as well. And, of course, like I mentioned, get into the three games, and we'll go from there. But, yeah, NBA playoffs officially underway here. And joining me here to help me break everything down that we saw over the weekend, got my guy here with me, Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Pretty interesting group of games so far. I know we had a fun game last night, which the Thunder ended up winning. We'll talk about that in a second with the recaps. But overall, so far, an interesting start to the playoffs, and hopefully it gets even more interesting.
Yeah, definitely was a lot of fun to watch all the game ones this past weekend. I'm sure everybody that was betting noticed that all 8 home teams took game one from Saturday and Sunday. I believe either they were 7-1 ATS or 6-2 ATS.
I think the Thunder were
Were
the
the
only
home
team
team.
that didn't cover. I think every other
Yeah, I
team
thought.
covered.
Yeah, so the Thunder closed as a 9-point favorite. They did not end up covering the spread, but all the other teams from Saturday on ended up covering and winning their game outright, like I mentioned. I guess we can do like the most surprising and the most disappointing. I mean, I think everything was pretty standard for me outside of 2 games. And I think the first one for me was the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who the Minnesota Timberwolves absolutely just crushed the Phoenix Suns in game 1. Was competitive in the first quarter. The Phoenix Suns had a lead, but after that, the Minnesota Timberwolves outscored the Suns by, let's see, 11, 21, 26 points the rest of the way, led by Mr. Anthony Edwards, who not only talks shit, but he backs it up. Finished the game with 33 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns, pretty efficient game, 5-9. Did have 8 of 8 from the free throw line. He finished with 19 points. Nikhil Alexander Walker, a huge contributor off the bench, 29 minutes. He had 18 points, 12 for Naz Reid coming off of the bench. Rudy Gobert chipped in with 14 points and 16 rebounds. And for the Phoenix Suns side, Kevin Durant was the guy. He finished the game with 31 points, 11 of 17 from the floor. Devin Booker, not a very efficient night, 5 of 16. He did have 18 points, but nonetheless, defensively, Phoenix didn't look good. And offensively, they look really bad as well there, Scott. But this was a more surprising game for me just because how lopsided it was, according to at least the closing line.
Yeah, it was surprising. I did pick Minnesota to win game 1. I thought that the game
Yeah.
just mattered more to Minnesota, and I thought that if they lost game 1 against a veteran team like Phoenix that has owned them in the regular season, it probably was not a good sign moving forward. Overall, I think the game 1s went well for me. I know that initially I gave out the Pacers to win game 1 and Milwaukee to win the series, but then I previewed the games with Thalante on Saturday night, and I took Milwaukee money line and the under as my dog in a parlay, and that worked out well. So I completely Benedicted. I flipped my opinion on the Milwaukee game 1. It might have been partly based on how good the home teams have been in the playoffs
Yeah.
so far, and also part of it was just thinking Indiana might be a little bit inexperienced and young after watching Orlando do whatever the hell they were trying to do offensively. I still didn't figure out what Orlando was trying to do offensively, but I thought the inexperience would come back to bite them, and that's kind of why I pivoted, and it did. The one thing I really got wrong was Dallas. That was really the only thing I got
Yeah.
wrong, and you could argue that that was the series I might be the most wrong about because I thought Dallas was going to kill the Clippers. I thought that they were going to win in 5, and now they have to win out in order for me to be right. So not a good start for me on that series. I'm sure a lot of people, almost everybody, picked Dallas to win that series.
Yeah.
8 points in a quarter, 30 points and a half. Like, I feel like that was probably the most surprising, not even just based on the outcome. I know Lonte did pick the Clippers to win. It was about the margin and just the absolute, just, I'd say, box that the Mavericks were put in by the
Yeah.
Clippers. James Harden looked great. I guess that's the perks of resting your guys in the last couple of regular season games, because Harden looked like he was in the middle of the regular season in a good way, because he struggled in the last couple months. Paul George really didn't do much, which is kind of the scary part for the Clippers because they dominated anyway.
Mhm.
Zubac was really good. Westbrook gave you some energy off the bench, but I know Luka and Kyrie stats-wise had decent games. Pure stat padding in the second half. They were, Luka especially, I thought was awful in the first
Yeah.
half of that game. And then he had a lot of big stat padding moments in the second half. And that's kind of why his closing line was like 33. I forgot what he had, 13 rebounds or 15 rebounds or whatever. But yeah, Luka was
13.
not very good in
Yeah.
that game. Kyrie was okay. But once again, a lot of those numbers came after they trailed by almost 30 at halftime. So those numbers don't really mean anything to me. Dallas was just horrible. They couldn't hit a shot. I think they missed the last 12 or 13 field goal attempts in the first half, and they just got run out of the building. I mean, that was kind of the main surprise. Even if you thought the Clippers were going to win, I didn't think you'd expect a borderline wire-to-wire job with them leading by about 30 at the half. So that was the big shock to me. I think everything else was kind of straightforward. Even the Milwaukee game, which I flipped on, I still realized once the home teams kept winning every game, like, all right, maybe, home court advantage actually matters this year. And that ended up being the case in that Milwaukee series, or at least Milwaukee game one. But the biggest surprise to me has to be Dallas. You're favored. Kawhi's out. I think everyone's picking Dallas to win. It's not even
Yeah.
about losing. They got blown out. I feel like that was the main shock from game one.
Yeah, I think that was the second one for me, or maybe even the first one. I was watching this game, and like you mentioned, Luca was absolutely terrible. There was, I could count it on two hands where he was driving to the basket. He had a layup, but he wanted to kick it out to a 3-point shooter and try to get a three instead of a two. And it just didn't work out, where either he was turning the ball over or it turned into a contested 3-pointer for the Dallas Mavericks. And they made a little bit of a run. They made it, I guess you could say, interesting in the second half, but it just wasn't enough. And I think Kyrie was absolutely incredible for this Mavericks team. Luca, again, like you mentioned, I wasn't overall impressed with his performance. But outside of that, they got nothing from either the bench or
Anybody.
any other
Yeah.
starter. Yeah. Um, so I do expect this team to bounce back. We've seen them. Maybe it is in game 3 back at home, where they're going to be knocking down every single 3-point shot, because they only went 10 of 33 from the 3-point line, and 7 of those 10 makes came from Kyrie and Luca for the Dallas Mavericks. So definitely, again, it's a, when you get talking about these playoff series, it's a game of adjustment. So give a tip of the cap to the LA Clippers for, number one, how they came out of the gate having a lead by 12 points at the end of the first quarter, and then just putting their foot down in that second quarter, especially defensively, like you mentioned, where they only scored 8 points when you have guys like Kyrie and Luca on your team. I mean, Luca does that in one quarter, maybe times two. In the single quarter, but for them as a team to only put up 8 points, that was absolutely atrocious by the Dallas Mavericks. Outside that, for me, I thought everything else was pretty the way that I thought they would go. I was heavy on the Milwaukee Bucks. They got it done against the Pacers in game 1. Dame was incredible, and they needed that type of performance for him. And one of the reasons they did bring him over, right, to pair with Giannis, and Giannis being out obviously for game 1, Dame had to come out and play the way that he did. Chris Middleton also looked good for the Bucks, 23 and 10. Bobby Portis chipped in with a double-double as well, 15 and 11. I think the most competitive game of the weekend was the game last night between the Thunder and the Pelicans. Give a lot of credit to the Pelicans. I mean, there was opportunities for them to win the game. They just weren't able to make shots down the stretch. And neither were the Thunder. I think there was a drought in that final fourth quarter where they didn't have a field goal for, I think, 4+ minutes. But when it mattered, their superstar MVP candidate, SGA, stepped up and got him the victory there, 94-92. And CJ McCollum just fumbled away the last possession where I thought there was an opportunity for him to at least get off a shot, at least a good look, but he wasn't able to do that. But OKC holds on.
You didn't think the look was decent at the end? I know that the play wasn't well, and I wasn't well
Wasn't like a
executed. And I
one
know that
leg.
McCollum was leaning forward. He got a decent look at the end.
Yeah, but I think that there should have been
the play was terrible, but he did get a good look at the end. Just to
yeah.
be clear.
I thought I don't know why they went for the 3, but again, I think that was probably because time was winding down and he lost the ball and had to scramble to get a shot off. But again, give the Pelicans credit for hanging in there after the number of games that they had played over the last week, whether it in the play-in tournament, obviously. So yeah, for me, I think everything went pretty much the way that I thought. Anything else you want to mention?
I got to dive into the end of that Pelicans and Thunder game. I was trying to think if there's anything else I really need to talk about, but I don't think there was, especially from yesterday. I mean, the home teams won every game, so it's not like there were many upsets per se in game one. I have to mention the end of that Pelicans Thunder game because I was losing my mind. Not because of like the high quality display of basketball. Actually, the opposite. I was losing my mind at how badly both teams were trying to choke the game away. It was a game where both teams were just absolutely terrified to make even like decent basketball plays down the stretch.
So they're going to build brick house for sure.
Shea made 2 shots. I think that was the only 2 shots Oklahoma City made in the last 5.5, 6 minutes.
Yeah.
They couldn't make a shot. So Shea came through at the end, making a couple of shots. That was the only 2 they made in the last 5, 6 minutes. The Pelicans had 3 stops in 1 possession. Larry Nance throws the ball out of bounds because Trey Murphy's not expecting the ball because obviously you just grabbed the rebound. Why would you try to chuck it to a guy not looking at you? That was a turnover. Then you ended up having Herb Jones get a rebound, and he tries to go behind the back with 2 guys on him, and he turns it over. Then the ball gets knocked out of bounds for a jump ball. Oklahoma City Dagnall, who's going to win Coach of the Year, challenges the jump ball and loses his team possession. He wins the challenge to get the Pelicans possession because they ruled it went off Chet last, which I've never seen before. That's probably the worst challenge in the history of the NBA. Then you end up going down the other end. The Pelicans get 3 offensive rebounds, brick a bunch of outside shots, and Brandon Ingram takes a contested 3 with 9 on the shot clock with a minute to go, and he's not even close. So Oklahoma City comes down, they make a couple shots, then the Pelicans have their thing at the end where McCollum dribbles the ball without really knowing what to do, and then he somehow ends up with a leaning 3-pointer for the win, and it misses. The execution for both teams was insanely bad. I thought the coaching for both teams was insanely bad down the stretch. I can't believe they left Larry Nance for the final couple minutes. Your team couldn't score. Valanciunas had 20-plus rebounds. He was dominating. You had timeouts, even for that final possession. Why is Valanciunas not in the game? He was your best player the entire game. I think we can agree on that. Valanciunas was objectively your most dominant player the entire game. And you have a final possession for a shot to win the game, or even the final minute and change, because Valanciunas defensively wasn't even that bad. It was like 41-40 at the half, like 44. It was a low-scoring game anyway. Valanciunas was actually doing decently defensively.
It was tied 43-43.
43-43. So even when he was playing for a large portion of that first half, Oklahoma City really wasn't exploiting those pick-and-roll matchups with Valanciunas. And you left Nansen, who also attempted a really dumb floater that got blocked by Chet in the final minute. Your offense was broken, and Valanciunas was giving you something. And Willie Green just kept him on the bench. I thought it was really bad coaching from both sides. I thought Willie Green was worse. I was shocked Valanciunas was not in the game for that final possession because you know that OKC was calling a timeout if you scored. Or maybe you would have gotten the last shot. There would have been no time left on the clock. Valanciunas should have been in the game for more of the last minute than he actually was. I thought Nance Jr. was basically an absolute zero offensively down the stretch. And you're not going to win 4-on-5 when McCollum and when Ingram are taking atrocious fadeaways and just have really bad shot selection. You're not going to win many of those games. And it felt like Willie Green panicked and froze in the final minute, and his team lost. So I can't believe Valanciunas didn't play more in the last minute or two when your team could not score. That was my main thought.
Yeah, and I thought, if you get into the box score, and this was one of the points that I thought the Thunder would have trouble with was rebounding, and we saw where the Pelicans had 18 rebounds, or sorry, 18 offensive rebounds, and they just weren't able to convert those into a lot of second chance opportunities. And I think that's something that's going to have to, I don't know, I don't think you can correct it because we talked about all season long that the Thunder don't have a true big man, right? Their biggest guy out there is Chet, and Chet's not a traditional big man like the Valanciunas of the world, like the Pelicans do have. And give a lot of credit to Valanciunas because there was times during the regular season where he was getting played off the court because of his defense, but he ended the game with 16 points and 20 rebounds. So it's gonna be interesting to see where the books adjust his numbers, and you can see that both of these head coaches, especially for Mark Dagnall and Thunder, they're probably the young guys. Like you could tell, especially from the tip,
It was their
and in the
first
fourth,
experience. They're
yeah,
nervous.
that they didn't have the experience. So, maybe now that they have a game under their belt and they see what the playoffs are like, maybe that changes. But also the shot make, it was, they were building a brick house out there. Maybe again there was some good defense being played as well, but there was just shots that were just not falling for both teams. 10 of 32 from 3-point land from the Thunder, 11 of 39 for the New Orleans Pelicans. But again, I'm going to be really curious to see how the rebounding battle pans out in this series because definitely the New Orleans Pelicans have the advantage in that department with Valanciunas, who had 20 rebounds last night. 9 of those 20, Scott, were from offensive rebounds for Valanciunas. So, yeah, I think we'll probably end up seeing more Valanciunas going forward. He did play 29 minutes, but he has to be in that range of 33 to 35 plus minutes for this Pelicans team if they want to have a chance to win this series. So, um, yeah, last night, at least for the weekend, this was one of the games that was more competitive, but not very good if you're an offensive fan. But it just felt like playoff basketball, and like I mentioned, for especially the Thunder and head coach Mark Dagnall, that it felt like for a lot of these players, it was their first playoff game. So, fortunate for them to get the win for the Thunder. We'll see how all these teams that lost game one, especially on the road, will bounce back. But anything else you have?
Just staying with that Thunder and Pelicans game for a second. 2 points. One, do you think Lakers fans wish they lost the game to New Orleans?
Yeah,
In
especially I think,
hindsight, I know
yeah,
you couldn't
in
do it at the
hindsight,
time. In reality, the
yeah.
Lakers killed this Thunder team. Just
Yeah,
being honest, they
Anthony
would kill this
Davis would
team.
have been a monster. Yeah,
Yeah, and LeBron getting downhill, the Lakers would have killed this team.
yeah,
So I feel like Lakers fans are going to be regretting. It's all hindsight anyway,
yeah,
but yeah, we'll see what happens in Game 2 with the Lakers in Denver. But I think Lakers fans might be getting some feelings of regret because based on watching that Thunder team play yesterday, damn, they played the much harder opponent in the first round with Denver.
yeah.
That's rough. My second takeaway in that game that I wanted to mention, I mentioned it before, my agendas have been doing really well this postseason. Ingram was actually good against the
Hmm.
Kings, and he was awful last night, so that's another agenda in my favor. I hate watching Brandon Ingram play basketball. There's really just a brief rant I wanted to mention. I can't stand watching him play basketball. You can make an argument he's the worst shot selection in the entire league. And a lot of these guys in the league who still rely heavily on mid-range jump shooting, I'm thinking of like DeRozan, a couple of guys still take a lot of mid-range jumpers.
Sure.
The shot selection is going to be really bad most of the time because they try to, or they believe they can make any shot over you because they either have a size advantage or they're so accustomed to, I'd say, positioning their body in a way to generate some extra space. Ingram only scores with contested jumpers. He doesn't get any good looks. And when Dort was guarding him last night, he was horrible. You saw the one-legged floater attempt through the fourth quarter, which airballed from like 12 feet. He had the terrible three-point shot with 9 on the shot clock in basically a tie game with like less than 2 minutes to go. I just want to say it. I hate watching Brandon Ingram play basketball. I think people think that he's a solid basketball player because he obviously is talent. Mentally, he just doesn't understand the idea that just because I can make these shots doesn't mean I should be attempting these shots. There are just so many bad overall looks, and Ingram thinks he can make all of them, and he settles a lot, more often than not, for really difficult shots, which is not going to go well in playoff basketball. I thought Ingram was especially awful yesterday. McCollum I'll give a pass to. I'm not a big McCollum guy. He was 9 of 22, but somebody had to do something offensively, and
Yeah.
nobody was creating off the dribble. I'm not going to blame McCollum too much for what happened. I'm blaming Ingram. Ingram was brutal last night, and I have to call him out for it.
It feels like lazy basketball when you're watching him play because he's more than capable of getting downhill and getting to the basket. But yeah, he's just more of a jump shooter and taking these like fadeaway jump shots. And I've
At
seen
least
this
get
throughout
open
his
for the jump
career.
shots. Like, you're taking
Yeah.
these shots with guys in your face the entire time. Those aren't good shots.
Yeah. And I mean, I really don't have an opinion about it. And Brandon Ingram, I'm not going out of my way to watch a guy play basketball. It
Look,
just
I'd
feels
say
like,
that it's the main issue I've had with him in the past, and that's kind of why maybe I haven't articulated it that well, but I've mentioned it several times in the show. I'm not
mhm,
a Brandon Ingram guy.
yeah.
Maybe it's because people still hold out hope that he's going to blossom into another gear. He's not.
Mhm.
Like, this is who he's been for the last 5, 6 years. Like, it is what it is. But I mean, I'll let you finish your point, but it's just shot selection for me. In games like these, yes, you have to make tough shots. Yes, you're not going to get great looks. It's also Willie Green part of the blame too, because get your best players better looks. It just felt like a lot of these possessions for New Orleans for the entire game, not just in the last couple of minutes, were just contested prayers. And you're not going to win games as an 8 seed trying to hit a bunch of contested shots.
Yeah. And I think Brandon Ingram is more than capable of getting to the basket and finishing around the basket. But I don't know. I've seen the guy play. I don't know if it's lazy is the right word or the effort's questionable,
It's
but
not lazy. I just think it's overconfidence. He just thinks I
yeah,
can make any shot on
make
the
every
floor, and in
shot. Yeah,
reality, you need to get better looks.
yeah, um, yeah. I think that pretty much covers it, at least from the weekend. Before we get in to the schedule here for Monday night, 3 games on the schedule for game twos of the playoffs. The NFL draft is this week, and the Sports Gambling Podcast has you covered all week with NFL draft props, mock drafts, and their NFL draft watch party. Tune in Thursday night on the Sports Gambling Podcast YouTube page and hang out with the guys for the best NFL draft watch party out there. I'll be joining the guys. I know my Texans don't have a first round pick, but I'll be there representing some team for the watch party there on the Sports Gambling Podcast. Also, we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. It's NBA playoffs, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants you to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their fantasy pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money. It's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and now even Canada. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight's Monday games in the association. They're also going to be running a whole bunch of different promos, bonus cash airdrops, specials, giveaways, and much more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure you follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out for that. Make sure you use our promo code NBA SGPN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy using promo code NBA SGPN. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get into the first game on the Monday night schedule. That is going to be the Orlando Magic game 2. They are in Cleveland to take on the Cavs. Cavs have a 1-0 lead. Current number is -5.5 in favor of the Cavaliers with a total of 203. These two teams were the first game on Saturday to tip off the NBA playoffs this year. Cavs made it look pretty easy. They get the victory 97-83. This is going to be one of those series, I believe, that's going to be more of a rock fight. And I think the first team to like 95 or 100 points is going to win the series. But right now, -5.5 in favor of the Cavs here. Scott, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I said going into the series, expect 90s basketball. Somebody tell Kobe. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to watch these games. I'm going to keep taking the under. I locked that up on the Mothership Show for game 1. 59 points in the first quarter, and the game flew under by about 38 points. I mean, or 28 points. It was disgusting. You had 2 quarters with less than 38 points. which is almost impossible in today's NBA. But yeah, give me the under. Do I think both teams are going to reach 100? No, I don't. I'm not sure either team's going to reach 100. So give me the under in this game. I don't think it's going to land 180 again, but I think it's probably going to land somewhere in the 190s. Cleveland has played 6 playoff games, including last year, the 5 games against the Knicks and the 1 game against the Magic. All 6 games, less than 202 points. I'm not going to change up my philosophy in the series. Expect an ugly matchup. I am a little bit concerned about the Magic in general because I knew that they were bad in the half court, but damn, they're bad in the half court. They're
Yeah.
really, really bad in the half court. So maybe they'll lose game 2 at home as well. I mean, I don't know when eventually it's going to flip and road teams are actually going to start winning games. We'll see what happens, but the side I'm torn on, I love the under. I have to keep taking unders until it goes over. This is the same thing as the Knicks Cavs series last year. The books don't know what to do. You drop the points by 5.5, you're going to see what happens, but in reality, both teams can't score. So I'll take the under again and just dare one of these teams to score over 105 points. I don't see it happening, so I'll go with the under.
Yeah, couldn't talk you off of the under. It's also the fact that Orlando Magic, like they don't even have 3-point shooting, right? Like if you're having a bad shooting night or you're not able to even get to the basket, like you need 3-point shooting. And the Orlando Magic don't even have that. They were bottom in the league in most, 3-point shooting statistic offensively. So at least for the Cavs, like you have some 3-point shooting out there, at least guys that can knock down the 3-point shot, right? We talk about Max Strus, Donovan Mitchell, Georges Niang when he's coming off the bench. Even Garland's able to knock down some shots for you as well. But also the fact that we talked about in the series that the the Cavs again had the significant advantage in the post with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I'm trying to find exactly here their numbers in the rebounding category. So the Cavs out rebounded the Magic 54-40 in that game. 8 of 37 from 3-point land for the Orlando Magic. And Cavs didn't have a great 3-point shooting night either. But I think that when you take a look at offensive rebounding in this game, 10-11 was the difference. But again, I think for, like you mentioned, for this Magic team, the half court offense is bad. And they don't have like a main guy where you can, hey, give the ball to, could go out and create his own shot, right? And I think for the Cavs, excuse me, like they have guys, okay, that can, like Donovan Mitchell can, Darius Garland can. So I think they're the more complete team right now are the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'll lean with the Cavs here, but I'm right there with you on the under in this game for the Cavs and the Magic. Any player props you're looking at here?
I mentioned it for game 1. I'll go back to it. Give me the Jonathan Isaac defensive props. What do you have, 3 blocks and 3 steals in game 1? Yeah, I'll run that back. He's just so damn good defensively.
Mm,
I don't have anything else to add. I mean, the problem you're running into for Isaac, offensively, is not very good. So you automatically run yourself into a bit of a problem. It's not Roberson. That was a serious issue for Oklahoma City back in the day, but you can argue it's the same family where you have such an elite defensive player who really does not do anything for you offensively, and your team can't score. At least for Roberson, they had Westbrook, they had Durant, they even might have had James Harden for a bit. So you had a couple of other options to kind of carry you offensively. You don't have that for Orlando, but I guess you have to keep playing Isaac because you don't have any great scorers off the bench. I don't know what you have. Your best shooter is arguably, I don't know, Gary Harris, who was terrible in game 1, Joe Ingles maybe, who like doesn't play that much. You don't have any shooters.
yeah,
Cole Anthony maybe for shooting, but you have to play Isaac. You don't have a choice. So
yeah,
I'll keep taking Isaac. Give me steals and blocks in this game. He's just so good defensively. I think he actually might be. I know Wemby is going to be viewed as the best defensive player in the league now, even if Gobert does win Defensive Player of the Year, which he's going to, if you've been keeping tabs on the award voting tracker.
yeah.
But Isaac, I think, is definitely in that conversation. 3.5 steals and blocks, sure. I mean, I can't really say no to it. The guy's an absolute monster on defense. So I'll keep taking that. The problem is Isaac over 1.5 blocks is like minus 150, which I can't really take because I'd rather just take the steals if I can. But
Yeah.
steals and blocks at 3.5. I mean, sure, the guy's an absolute lunatic. Over 1.5 steals is -120. I guess I prefer that, but give me both of them combined. Just give me a defensive game plan wrecker to do that again. And I think that game one was definitely not a fluke. His activity, his energy, his overall ability to read plays early defensively is just invaluable. I'll keep going with his defensive props. Isaac's an absolute lunatic on defense.
Yeah, couldn't talk you over that for sure for Jonathan Isaac. Man, I was looking at Jared Allen rebounds again. He did have 18 in the first game, but traditionally, during the regular season, he's been really good rebounding against his Magic team. I know that Evan Mobley's out there, that he could possibly take away some of those rebounds from Jared Allen, but it's just that both guys are going to get the number of minutes out there for the Cavs, right? So Evan Mobley played 36 minutes for the Cavs in game one. Jared Allen played 35 as well. So those two guys are going to clean up the boards for the Cavs. I wouldn't expect anybody else to really grab those rebounds. So between those two guys, they had 29 rebounds in game one. So I think that theme continues for both guys. Right now, 11 and a half, 11 and a half is a number for Jared Allen. And for Evan Mobley, it's at 9.5 right now. So, I mean, it would have create like a same game parlay for those two guys, like 10 rebounds plus or 11 rebounds each. I couldn't talk you off of that, but do like Jared Allen over 11 and a half rebounds in this game. Anything else for this game?
I mean, I'm trying to think of, do I want any positive prop for Orlando offensively? Not really. I don't know who to trust in this matchup. Banchero turnovers at 4.5. He had 9 in the first game, so I can't
Jesus.
really tell you that it was his first ever playoff game. You know,
Yeah.
nerves were there, but he's going to have to force a lot of stuff. Like, I can't criticize Brandon Ingram for forcing a lot of offense down the stretch with some bad overall shots or decision making because nobody else is doing anything. And then let Banchero slide because Orlando doesn't have anybody that can do anything offensively. Like, he's going to have to force the issue. That's kind of the problem you run into. And Franz forgot how to shoot from the outside. He was okay in game one. I don't think he did much. If nobody's going to do anything and Banchero's going to have to carry you, don't you have to like the turnovers over? Because I think Banchero's a good player. Is he a 1? No, I don't think he's good enough to be a 1. I think that you can make the argument that his decision making, especially in pick and roll offense, is really not great. His assist to turnover ratio is really not that good. So if you think that he's going to have the ball in his hands all the time, he might be a ticking time bomb offensively for turnovers. Like, I wouldn't argue with you if he ends up with 6 turnovers in this game or something like that, but I just think Cleveland defensively is going to make life difficult for Banchero because nobody else on his team can actually do anything offensively. So I don't mind the over for turnovers for Banchero. He's going to have to play 35, 40 plus minutes in this game, and he's going to have the ball in his hands all the time. And I don't think he's a great decision maker. So I don't mind Banchero over for turnovers.
Yeah, 41 minutes in game one, 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. He was 9 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 7 from 3-point line. He missed 4 free throws. He was 4 of 8 from the free throw line.
I know his team's bad at scoring, but 5 assists to 9 turnovers, like, that's not going to fly.
Yeah, and it seems like he was pretty much the guy that had the ball in his hands because no other player had more than 2 turnovers. Wendell Carter off the bench had 2 in 15 minutes, and then Jalen Suggs had 1 turnover in that game for the Orlando Magic. You mentioned Gary Harris. I think, again, if there's an opportunity where he's going to have to knock down 3-point shots, I think it obviously has to be in this game. He was 0 of 5 from 3-point line. Like, the looks are going to be there for him. It's just about him actually making the shot. His 3-point prop is at over 1.5, is at plus 130. I think if we go back and look and see if the Magic won this game, that Gary Harris at least knocked down 2 3-point shots. Or if they scored more than 90 points, that Gary Harris was able to provide some type of shooting for this Orlando Magic team. But he's going to be out there. The minutes are going to be there for him for sure. The shot volume is going to be there for sure. So I at that plus 130 price, I don't hate that for Gary Harris. But nothing else really I do like in this game. I mean, this is probably going to be another rock fight between the Magic and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Got anything else for this game?
Part of me thought about Garland actually under 16.5 points, but I'm not sure if I'm actually going to go with it. I'm trying to think of what adjustments that you're going to see Orlando make because Mitchell kind of killed them. in the game. So I am wondering if they're going to try to force the ball out of his hands, or maybe they just let Mitchell do his thing. I'm kind of curious what the game plan is going to be for Orlando. Defensively, they only gave up 97, so they weren't like bad defensively, and Mitchell had a
Yeah.
big game. So they might stick with what they did in game one and just hope that anybody can hit shots. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Jared Allen rebounds. I like that. I can't really go against that either. Yeah, I don't want to have money on anybody on Orlando to do anything positive offensively. So I'll probably pass and I'll move on.
All right. Before we get into the next game on the schedule, let me tell everyone about our friends over at AG1. Well, there's times you wake up in the morning, Monday mornings, it's always a little tough to get out of the bed and you're not feeling the greatest, right? Maybe you're a little bit sluggish, your digestion doesn't feel its best from the weekend, and you're feeling stressed because it is Monday morning. And that's what AG1 came in. When I started drinking AG1 daily, it really helped me not feel stressed. I could get up, get focused, get on these pods for you guys, and my digestion felt a lot better. Also, felt a little bit relaxed. And when I'm relaxed, I can focus. That's because AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. Since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition, continuously refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate your baseline health. Not only did I replace my multivitamin with AG1, but I love that every scoop includes probiotics and digestive enzymes for gut support. And I recommended AG1 to all my family and friends because, again, AG1 has a team of doctors and scientists. They test for 950 different contaminants and NSF certified for sports. I even got my dad drinking on AG1. Ever since he started drinking AG1, he always tells me how much more energy that he has, that his stress levels feel manageable, and that they feel like they are getting the nutrients that their body really does crave. So again, if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. Go to drinkag1.com/SGPN. Again, that's drinkag1.com/SGPN. Make sure you guys check it out. And also, if you are thinking about entering the Circus Survivor and Circle Millions contest, but don't live in Nevada, no problem. It's very easy to hire a proxy and submit the picks for you each week for your chance to win millions. Sign up in Las Vegas and then just submit your picks to your proxy. We've partnered up with the gold standard of proxies over at footballcontestproxy.com. Plus, if they use the promo code SGP at checkout, you'll save $50 off of the proxy fees. Again, go to footballcontestproxy.com. That's footballcontestproxy.com. Make sure you guys use our promo code SGP to get $50 off of the proxy services. All right, Scott, let's get into the next game on the schedule here. That is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. They are in Madison Square Garden looking up to even up the series at 1 game apiece. Right now, the line as it stands, the Knicks are a 6-point home favorite with a total of 206.5. Looking at the injury report, pretty standard. Ibsek did see a note this morning that Tyrese Maxey is dealing with an illness and did not participate in shoot around. But I do expect Tyrese Maxey to be out there for this Philadelphia 76ers team. So keep that in mind. But he did not participate in shoot around this morning for the Sixers. Like we mentioned, the New York Knicks did get the victory at home in game one. Pretty, I don't want to say convincing win because it was a pretty good game, but the Knicks were able to pull away, I should say, in that fourth quarter, outscoring the 76ers 32-22. It was led by Josh Hart, who had an absolutely phenomenal game, 22 points, 13 rebounds. Jalen Brunson, not very efficient from the floor, 8 of 26. He had 22 points and 7 rebounds, 7 assists. But the Knicks shot incredible from the three-point line, Scott. 16 of 35, 45.7%. Meanwhile, for the Philadelphia 76ers, got off to a great start in the game. But again, Embiid, we know he's hurt. Still finished the game with 29 points, 8 of 22 from the floor. They just weren't able to knock down their 3-point shots, but Knicks did get the victory. But on the game two here, Scott, -6 in favor of the Knicks. What are you thinking?
So initially, I was going to lean to Philly because it feels like too many points when game one came down to the wire. But now Maxi's sick. I don't know if it's flu-like symptoms. I don't know what the story is, but missing shoot-around's probably not a good sign. Maxi might be a full decoy in this game. Like, I don't know what he's going to give you. We've seen a lot of players try to play through illnesses. It usually doesn't go well. I don't know if Embiid can move. He was really bad in the fourth quarter. Wasn't his fault. He's on one leg out there, but I'm not going to put faith in him when he can't really move. And you mentioned that Brunson was really bad in game one. DiVincenzo was bad in game one.
Mhm.
Really not many of the star players for the Knicks actually played well besides Josh Hart.
Yeah.
And they still won the game. So I know McBride stepped up. He had a big game. Boyan had a big game offensively in the second quarter especially. I really like the Knicks' depth. And the star players, the best two scorers for this team, played horribly. And they still won, which I think is a good look. So I'm going to lean Knicks. I probably would have leaned 76ers if Maxey was healthy, but the illness is concerning. You miss shoot-around, it's a big deal. It's a big deal if you're going to be missing shoot-around with illness. So assuming Philly's best two offensive players are physically compromised, either from injury or from illness, how are they going to score? Like, I can't pick them. They need Buddy Hield to go crazy in this game, assuming that Maxey and Embiid are going to be shells of their normal selves. Give me the Knicks. I just think there's too many injury concerns right now with Philly.
Yeah, I felt like 6 was a lot of points here for the New York Knicks. The Maxey news obviously does not help at all. But I do still.
What do they have? They have Nicholas Batum praying he hits 6 threes again? Like, I don't know what they have.
Yeah, it's Batum that you're praying for. It's Tobias Harris you're praying for a miracle for.
Tobias Harris?
It's
praying for Tobias Harris now?
Kelly Oubre you're praying for. I'll lean with the Sixers here, plus the 6. I think this is going to be a series where it's going to be within a couple possessions, I think, in every single game. And again, the Sixers had the lead going into that fourth quarter by 3. And they were outscored, like I mentioned, by 10 points there. Miles McBride, I don't think we mentioned his name. He was absolutely incredible shooting the basketball for the New York Knicks in that game. What he was 5 of 7 from 3-point line.
Boyan was good too.
Yeah, Boyan was absolutely a fantastic as well. So some of the guys, or at least Boyan that they picked up at the trade deadline, did pay dividends for them. 4 of 12 from the floor, but he was 3 of 6 from 3-point land. Miles McBride and Boyan combined 8 of 13 from 3-point land coming off of the bench. And it's an 8-man rotation right now for this New York Knicks team. Your 5 starters, and you have Mitchell Robinson, Miles McBride, and Boyan coming off of the bench. So Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, you can lock them in for 40 minutes at minimum for this team. So, but I think for the Sixers, somebody needs to step. I mean, look, when you got 62 points from Maxey and Joel Embiid, like you would have probably expected this team to win. But I'm surprised that Buddy Hield's not getting more minutes. I know he's probably a defensive liability. I think the Knicks, I think the Sixers keep this within the number here. So I'm gonna zig when people are zagging. I'll take the Sixers here plus the 6. Would I be surprised if they won outright? No. But I do think there's an opportunity for the Sixers to bounce back, and they just weren't able to close that game out. So give a lot of credit to the Knicks, where they're able to shoot the 3 ball very well. I think that regresses a little bit here for the New York Knicks, especially that 3-point shooting. So I don't expect Boyan and Miles McBride to go 8 of 13 again. But on the flip side, you could say
I don't expect Brunson to be that bad.
Yeah, Brunson to be that bad, and DiVincenzo to be that bad as well. But yeah, I'll take the 6 here plus the 6 here. Total is now down to only half a point to 205.5 here, Scott. But anything on the total here that you like?
Well, I think it's correlated for me. I think there's actually a chance the Knicks blow them out in this game. If we're expecting Maxey and Embiid to be physically compromised, and you could tell during the game, I don't think Philly can score. I mean, you're mentioning names like Tobias Harris, who you're not wrong. They're paying him a lot of money. He sucks in the playoffs, especially, but you got to rely on him, I guess. You don't have any options. I feel like that's just the story of it. I think the Knicks just have more depth. I think they have the healthier roster right now. If the Knicks won this game by 15, I would not be shocked. I'll put it that way. I like Philly team total under. I know game one went over. You had a pretty high scoring second half there where the Sixers went crazy in the third quarter. And then you had some free throws at the end to kind of drag the game over by an even bigger margin. Philly team total should be around like 10, I'd say 100.5, give or take. If Embiid and Maxey are injured, they're not scoring 100 points against this Knicks defense with a healthy OG and with everybody right now is being like fully active. Assuming that everyone's who I think is going to be compromised is compromised, actually, I don't think Philly's reaching 100. And I think the pace is going to be an issue as well in this game because Embiid, when he's injured, moves up and down the floor even slower than usual. So he might kill the pace by himself. So I expect a half-court battle, an ugly game. Give me Philly team total under probably 100.5.
Yeah, I see 99.5 right now on DraftKings. Again, definitely shop around, see if we can find that. Find the best number if you want to bet that team total under.
I'm assuming you agree, even if you are picking Philly, with Embiid being compromised and now Maxey being compromised, you can't run the floor. You're going to have to play in the half court.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of those series where we see half-court offense, and I think both these offenses are more than capable in the half-court offense, but neither one of these teams really like pushing the pace, right? I mean, we really didn't see that in the regular season, especially with, Joel Embiid out on the floor. We know what he can do in the half-court setting, but that's a guy that you don't want to get up and down the floor. And again, these Sixers, they have older guys, talking about like guys like Kyle Lowry, who maybe for a possession will try to get up and down the floor, steal a basket. But other than that,
he's one of the best players right now.
Yeah, and he had a really good game one, 39 minutes, 18 minutes, 5 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 7 from three-point land. So, I'm leaning towards I'm on the under in this game here with you. I even think that if the Sixers do win, it's going to be like a 99-95 type of game. I think you could go that either way for both of these teams here. So it's just going to be a dogfight all series long between these two teams. So I'm definitely on the under. I think this number is moving in the right direction right now, down to 205.5. Any player props you're looking at in this game here, Scott?
I got to figure out which Philly guy I want to fade. Because when you miss shoot around for illness, that's definitely not a good sign. So I think Maxey's going to struggle in this game. I just have to figure out which prop I want. Is it already being accounted
25.5?
I think I have to lean to the under in that. You can argue maybe I'm buying into the illness too much, but you miss shoot around, team's down 1-0. That's probably not a good sign. He had 33 points in game one, so he played a ton of minutes. He played 43 minutes. That could also be an issue. What if physically he just can't handle playing 40-plus minutes?
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah. Maybe he just will have too much dehydration or just too much fatigue, and he's going to have to sit. I think Maxey under's worth a look. I think Embiid under is definitely worth a look. He's going to go to the locker room at some point in this game. I'll ask Sean to put up a cut bet on that. Embiid to go to the locker room at some point during this game. Should be like minus 200 because it's going to happen. But I think for the sake of this matchup, Embiid points are at 30.5. Yeah, I'll fade both injured guys. Give me Embiid under 30.5 points. It's a crazy line for a guy that can't move.
Yeah, I'm back on Josh Hart rebounds. It's at 11.5 at plus 114. I mean, we mentioned, Josh Hart's going to be that one guy that's going to play the most minutes, him and Jalen Brunson for this New York Knicks team. Game one, he had 13 rebounds in 42 minutes, and we're expecting this to be a rock fight, and teams not shooting well, the rebounding opportunities are going to be there. And Josh Hart, going back even to the regular season, we've talked about at volumes how great he is at rebounding and also dishing the basketball, more importantly, rebounding here. So 11.5 at plus odds for a guy that's going to play a minimum 40 minutes and just has that extra gear, and the offensive rebounding is going to be there for him as well. I'll take that as well at plus 114. Something I think that we probably want to take a look at here. Let me see what the number is. Joel Embiid threes, and that number has now moved all the way up to minus 140 on the over 1.5. Because he is injured, we've seen him taking
outside more.
He's been taking a lot more 3-point shots. Against the Miami Heat, it was 2 of 4. Against the Knicks, he got up 8 attempts from beyond the arc. He did make 2. So dating back since he has returned from injury, even to the regular season, He's knocked down at least 2 3-pointers in, let's see here, 7 straight games dating back to the regular season. So that number's at 1.5 right now, currently around minus 140 is the number for Joel Embiid. If you want to take a look at that, that's something I will probably be on here tonight for a Joel Embiid prop. Other than that, I don't really trust anybody else from the Sixers or even the Knicks side. I mean, you'll have those outlier games where David Chinzo has a great game. Is it tonight? Possibly. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. You have anything else?
Not really. No. Once again, I feel like if I'm picking the Knicks to win by a decent margin with the current script we have, I'm
Mm-hmm.
fading Maxey, I'm fading Embiid because I just don't know what they're going to have in the tank. You mentioned the 3-pointers for Embiid because he's going to attempt a lot of them.
Yeah.
8 attempts tells you the man can't actually move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's no way Embiid would take 8 attempts or even over 5 in like a regular game.
Yeah.
How is he going to get to 30? Like, I feel or 31
From
in
the
this
free throw
case.
line.
That's what I'm saying, but we know the refs aren't going to call much, and the Knicks are definitely aware of his tendency to potentially flop and foul bait. So, yeah, I'm just going to dare Embiid and Maxey to beat me because I think both of them are physically compromised or too physically compromised to actually do it. So that's kind of where I'm looking.
All right. Last game on the night. We've got the Western Conference matchup between the 2 and the 7 seed. The LA Lakers, they are in Denver to take on the Nuggets. 7.5 is the number right now in favor of the Denver Nuggets with a total of 224 in this game. Pretty clean injury report for both teams. Since you know that Christian Wood is going to return for the Lakers in game 3 back in LA.
Is that breaking news or is that just like a
I
slow news
saw
day?
that over the weekend.
No, I'm saying, is that breaking news or is that a slow news day type of
probably a
thing?
slow news day type of thing for Shams over at the stadium. Maybe a little bit of boost
Was
for
the
them.
report brought to you by FanDuel?
It was not. It was brought to you by Stadium.
Oh, okay. Because I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that his show is sponsored by FanDuel. That's why I was asking. Okay,
Yeah. But 7.5 is a number here, Scott. We saw in game 1, the Lakers came out and played some great basketball, looking like they were going to maybe possibly steal game 1. But I'm trying to pull up the exact game
D'Angelo
1
Russell
numbers
stat
here.
one? Oh.
Yeah, that too. So 114-103, the Denver Nuggets cover the number. The Lakers in the first quarter were up by 8 points. And after that, just turned into the Denver Nuggets being the Denver Nuggets. Third quarter, I think, was the one spot there for the new Denver Nuggets. 32-18, they outscored the LA Lakers. Like you mentioned, playoff D'Lo is officially back. 41 minutes, 6 of 20 from the floor, 1 of 9 from three-point land. As a team, the Lakers shot 8 of 29 from three-point land, 27.6%. That percentage would be a whole heck of a lot better if both D'Lo and Anthony Davis weren't jacking up threes. Davis was 0 of 4 from three-point land, but he had a pretty great game for the Lakers. 32 points, 14 rebounds. LeBron finished that game with 27.6 rebounds and 8 assists. But Scott, before we start handicapping this game, I should mention to you the lead official for this game is Scott Foster.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if that helps the Lakers or not, because that game against the Pelicans that he reffed was a rock fight, and they arguably should have lost the game. So I can't even tell if that's a good or a bad thing in this case. To be fair, the Nuggets don't get any free throws anyway. I believe they set the all-time record for the fewest free throw attempts in a playoff win in game 1. I think.
I believe so. They only shot.
What was it, 4 free throws
Let me
in
see.
game
Go
1?
to team stats here. 6 free throws.
6? Okay.
Compared 19 for the Lakers. And maybe that's why they sent Scott Foster out there to maybe give more free throws to both teams.
Who knows? Point is, though, I'm not going to suddenly pick the Lakers because Scott Foster's an official, because he was officiating the play-in game against the Pelicans, and the Lakers still almost blew a 20-point lead. So I'm not going to read too much into it.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, you might. But maybe for player props, I'll read into it more. But I wanted to lean Lakers, but I just know this team's going to fall apart at some point during the game. I've seen it against the Nuggets for a year straight at this point. It's the same script every damn time. Maybe you want Lakers first quarter because they tend to start off well, but they immediately fall apart in the second half. It happens every meeting. There's nothing you can do about it. And at some point, you just have to realize the Lakers are just really bad at actually generating consistently solid looks late in games. Maybe it's fatigue wise because LeBron and AD are too tired to do anything. Maybe it's because D'Lo thinks he's still an all-star and that he should be chucking up bad shots all the time because he's D'Lo and it's D'Lo time, ice in the veins, when in reality he's killing his own team most of the time. It just feels like the Nuggets, and it's why I love Joker so much. No matter how often he has the ball, no matter how often he shoots, he will always get you a great shot. The shot selection that Denver gets compared to the rest of the league on a regular basis is just so much better. They get open look after open look all the damn time. Yes, I know Murray hits some fadeaway jumpers and not all of his shots are easy, but compared to the rest of the league, Denver gets so many more open looks than any other team because Joker sees everything 3 moves in advance. He knows exactly what to do. He tells his teammates what to do on the fly because he recognizes defensive patterns. He recognizes overall openings in the defense. It's why I love Denver so much. It's because the basketball IQ for Joker just does so many favors for his teammates. And for the Lakers, they don't really have that. You have to rely on older LeBron, who I know still had a great year. What's LeBron now? 39?
39
37?
years old, the
He's
oldest
39.
player. Yeah.
You saw him in the fourth quarter of that game. He was exhausted. It's not his fault. I mean, Denver's going to make him run. You're in altitude, and you're the team's best player at 39 years old. That's a serious problem. Now, Davis was great in game one, and you still lost. Probably not a good sign because we've seen Anthony Davis have up and down playoff series for the last couple of years. I think I'm leaning Denver. You can probably get a better line in play. Maybe you want Lakers first quarter. But damn, man, I hate watching Darvin Ham make adjustments in the second half. Watching D'Lo and Dinwiddie play minutes together in the second half almost made me lose my mind. And I'm rooting for Denver. Like, I hope Denver wins the series, so I was happy about it. D'Lo and Dinwiddie at the same time. Are you out of your mind? Like, that's an insane lineup. You can't do that. Like, no, I can't. I got to lean Denver. A part of me is concerned that if the Lakers lose this game, the series might be over.
Yeah.
Because I do think that the Nuggets will win game 3 or game 4. I don't see the Lakers winning both games at home. So you could argue the series is over if the Lakers lose this game, so they'll give you a better effort. I just don't know how Anthony Davis is going to do any better than he did in game 1. And you still lost by double digits. I'm going to lean Denver. I just think the Lakers keep it close and they fall apart at some point. But you will get a better line in play with Denver. So maybe live bet them when it's -4.5 instead of 7.5.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that again, that if for the Lakers, you probably want to come out in the first quarter or the first half. Because
And
again,
you've
if
had
they come
success
out
doing
flat,
that
yeah, and
against
if they
Denver.
come out flat in that first quarter, again, it's going to be difficult for them to play catch up. And we've seen Anthony Davis all throughout his career, not only during the regular season, but also the playoffs, that if in a game where he does really, really well, the next game he usually comes out flat. And does have a great game offensively, at least. But I think, again, and I mentioned this when we were on with Sean and Ryan, that the Lakers had to come out and play well in the first quarter and the first half. Because, again, if they got behind early, that they were pretty much going to, at that point, I don't want to say mail it in, but it was going to be a tough hill to climb for them to come back in that game against the Denver Nuggets, who absolutely just owned you. I think what's at 9 straight now, including the playoffs, where the Denver Nuggets have beat you straight up. But again, it's going to be important for this Lakers team to come out early and play well and play with the lead. So I like the Lakers either first quarter or first half again. I'll take them full game as well here, +7.5. They had an opportunity, really. They played great for 3 out of the 4 quarters. It was just that third quarter that really did them in, where they were outscored 32-18. We'll see if D'Lo plays a lot of minutes again, or if he's as bad as he was shooting the basketball. But you can, I mean, you nailed it. You can't have Dinwiddie playing more than 5 minutes in this game or even out there with D'Lo together because the Denver Nuggets will just eat you up at that point. So again, we know similar to what we talked about with the Knicks with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson that we know they're going to be out there 40 plus minutes. Like we know LeBron and AD are going to be out there 40 plus minutes as well, unless it turns into a blowout and they get back home,
AD
get ready
played
for game 3.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much the Lakers can rely on Anthony Davis and LeBron. They're going to have to rely on them to play 40 plus minutes every game. I just don't know stamina-wise how much they got left in the tank in altitude in their second game in 3 nights. I know there's a day off in between, but I mean, damn, man, can Anthony Davis have played any better? He had
Maybe
32 and
smoke some
14.
weed. Who knows?
He had 32, 14, and 5 with 4 blocks. I don't know how Anthony Davis could play any better. And he was still
Yeah.
a minus 12. He was somehow a minus 12, and he had a game like that. LeBron had a bunch of turnovers. He had 7 turnovers. But he had 27, 6, and 8 on 10 of 16 shooting. I'm not sure he's going to play much better than that. And you still lost by double digits. I don't know what the Lakers' answers are. I really don't know. You just got to hope Murray has an off game. He did have an off game. You still lost by 11. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I just feel like the Lakers are in a world of trouble. This Denver team's a bad matchup for them. Do you have any ideas? I don't know what you're supposed to do.
It's funny because
Dinwiddie played 13 minutes, by the way. He attempted 0 shots.
Yeah.
0? Dinwiddie didn't take a shot in 13 minutes, but Vincent
Did you
played
want him to
8
take a
minutes.
shot?
It's actually kind of crazy. You had 4 bench players play for the Lakers. Only one of the 4 attempted a shot.
But why is
3
Gabe
of the
Vincent not
Lakers'
getting
4
up any
players
shots?
attempted 0 shots off the bench. 0.
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
I mean, at that point, they were probably on the floor with AD and LeBron, and those 2 guys were saying, "Yeah, nobody's getting up shots outside of us too." And that's the only thing I could think of. But I think Gabe Vincent needs to get more shots. I don't know if he's still injured because he missed majority of the season, not all of it. Because we saw what he did last year for this Miami Heat team, and for him not to get up any shots and only play 8 minutes, I think that's a little bit of detriment to why you brought over Gabe Vincent, especially this time of year. Yeah, 6 of 20 can't happen again for D'Lo, and I think that was what really caused the Lakers to lose that game 1. Now, we'll see what the adjustment is for D'Lo because it's crazy that how much we're talking about him and how much he could swing the series here, or at least this game for the LA Lakers between winning and losing. But I don't anticipate him going for 6 of 20 again because again, law of averages, but it is D'Lo. But again, I like the Lakers early. And this Denver team, they're just the more complete team, right? Outside of Jokic and Murray, like they still have guys in Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., KCP, guys coming off of the bench, Peyton Watson, who's absolutely fantastic defensively as well.
The entire starting 5 scored double digits for Denver. The bench wasn't great, but it was good enough. I mean, Watson had 8. DeAndre Jordan actually played 9 minutes. Shout out to him for still being in the league. Reggie Jackson played 9 minutes. He sucks. He had 3 points, but 9 minutes. That's 4 minutes less than Dinwiddie. So I can't even be mad. That's less time I thought they'd give Reggie Jackson, and I'm happy about it. It just comes back to the Lakers bench and their over-reliance on 39-year-old LeBron and Anthony Davis, who played 45 minutes. And you still got to run out of the building in the second half. I don't know what the answer is for the Lakers besides praying that Reeves and D'Lo make shots. That's the only adjustment you have.
Yeah.
And it's not even an adjustment. You're just hoping at that point. But I just find it crazy that 3 of the 4 players who came off the bench for the Lakers not only did not score, but didn't take a shot. What were you doing on the court?
I don't expect Jackson Hayes to take any shots.
He only played 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's not really a fair point.
I think the
Jackson
surprising
Hayes,
one is Spencer Dinwiddie.
Vincent and Dinwiddie played a combined 21 minutes, and they attempted 0 shots.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing on the floor at that point. You're not on there for your defense.
I think what's more impressive is that Gabe Vincent had 3 fouls in 8 minutes that he played for the LA Lakers.
That's my point. He can't guard anybody, so him not shooting is not going to do anybody any favors. But anyway, I'm going to lean Denver. I just think in the second half they blow it open again. I get if you want the Lakers early. I understand that angle because they need to start off well. But I just don't know how over a 48-minute game, if AD and LeBron have to play 40, 45 plus minutes in altitude at this stage in their careers, it's just not going to go well.
Yeah.
And I'm putting no faith in D'Lo and Reeves to do enough offensively to carry this team. So I'm going to lean Denver again. Probably wait for a better line in play if the Lakers start off hot. Maybe if you want to go Lakers first half, Nuggets full game, you want to get cute with it. Maybe that's a decent plus money price. But I'm going to lean Denver. I see them winning by 10 again.
All right. Total 224. Anything on that?
Game 1 went under. I guess I'm leaning under again. 80 at 32 points, and they still scored 103.
Yeah.
I just think even if D'Lo or Reeves play well, you're expecting Anthony Davis to play as well as he did. I don't see that happening. 45 minutes is a long time for Anthony Davis to be playing basketball in altitude. I think he might struggle more. At least, I mean, he set the bar pretty high in game 1. But I think he's going to struggle more in game 2. And maybe D'Lo and Reeves play better, but I'm going to lean under again. I just think the Lakers offensively are going to look a little bit shaky in the second half. So you had what, 117 points in the first half, and the game landed 217.
Yeah.
I'm going to lean under. I just think this total's too high.
I think I'll lean over in this game. I don't trust. I think that you'll see more free throw attempts in this game, especially for the Denver side, because 6 free throws, I mean, that's kind of unheard of, especially in the playoffs, especially how physical that it does get.
What happens
And
every year? We see Denver get outshot by the Lakers in free throws by double digits, and they still win every game. So,
yeah.
you know.
And the interesting part is in game 1, the Denver Nuggets took 23 more shot attempts than the LA Lakers. Lakers got up 79 shots. The Denver Nuggets got up 102 shots in that game. 15-6 offensive rebounds was the difference in that game. But God, that's a big disparity when they got up 23 more shots to the Denver Nuggets. So
a big reason for that, by the way, in honor of 420 that passed, the Nuggets won the turnover battle 4-20.
Yeah. And
4
again,
turnovers in the entire game. I mean, that's why I love Joker. He
championship
maximizes
basketball.
basically every possession.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll lean with the over here. I think that anytime I see Scott Foster, you know you're going to get a quick whistle. I think the shooting will be better for both teams, especially for the Lakers. And again, both these teams have capable 3-point shooters, right? I'm not going to go through the entire list, but I think that could translate here. Both of these teams, if you want to play an over, which I did in the first game, the Lakers were going back to the regular season, were the best team towards the over in the first half. 26-14 and 2 now. That's including the playoffs. That was the best in the league. And the Denver Nuggets at home were the best team towards the over, 24-17 and 1. And I think that 1 is coming into the playoffs the first game, depending on which number you got. Because if you got there early, I saw 115 and a halves and 116s. I think the number close around 117. So I'll go back to the first half over. I just think that these offenses will come out again, and then the game maybe slows down in the second half, like we saw. And maybe, like you mentioned, that the tired legs do catch up to the Lakers because they are in altitude for the second game in a row. So, yeah, I'll take the first half over in this game. Player props here, Scott. What are you looking at?
I mean, for Denver, I think Joker triple-double is worth a look. The Lakers tried to make a statement early in the game by kind of daring Joker to score, and they were just going to stop Jamal Murray and just try to stop everybody else. Yeah, that only lasted so long because Joker just picked them apart by scoring 32, and even the assist kind of got there at the end. I don't mind triple-double in this game. The Lakers are going to have to experiment defensively. There is no answer for Joker. He's a one-man unstoppable offense, basically, in the playoffs especially. You could argue that, according to advanced numbers, he's the most efficient NBA playoffs player of all time. Like, there are a lot of metrics that tell you that he's the best playoff player of all time in terms of efficiency. The Lakers have to throw different looks at him. None of it's going to work.
Yeah.
Complete spoiler, but I think Joker triple-double is worth consideration. Now, Caldwell Pope went hot from 3. I'm not sure he's going to do that again, so we'll see if he can duplicate that. Murray didn't shoot the ball that well. I know he had a double-double, though, so maybe you want Murray assists, too, if you want to consider something. But, I mean, it's mostly Joker. in this game. I know I went on a limb and took Peyton Watson blocks in game 1. That didn't get there. He didn't play much, at least as much as I thought he was going to, but he was still good defensively. He just got into some foul trouble early. But maybe if you want to go for defensive props, he can be worth an option. Maybe steals. We saw LeBron turn over 7 times. Maybe you want to take like Aaron Gordon to get a steal, Joker to get a steal, something like that. But
Yep.
I'm trying to think of who I want for the Lakers because I don't know if I really trust anybody. D'Lo, I want to take unders with, but he took 20 shots. So I can't take an under because he might just keep jacking up bad shots. LeBron, I mean, I don't know what I want. I mean, I'm on the fence here. Maybe 80 blocks again, but I'm worried about his overall fitness. So I don't really have much for player props in this game.
I think you probably go back to AD rebounds. That number's probably inflated though. Let me double check here. That number is 12.5. How many did you say you had in the first game? 13?
AD in that first game at 14.
14. Okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. Torian Prince has been interesting. I think he's one of the guys that's not afraid. If you're watching game 1, Torian Prince was the one guy that was not afraid to either attack the basket or get up shots when he had them. And I know he only played 20 minutes.
No, he was the only player on the bench who scored a point. He went 4 of 7, he had 11 points.
And that's the one guy I want to see get more minutes for this Lakers team because he can knock down the 3-point shot and he can also get to the basket if he wants to. But if you were watching that game, everybody was just so gun-ho to attack the basket outside of AD and LeBron. So Torian Prince, if you want to look at his points prop, I don't hate that. AD rebounds, you already mentioned Jokic, triple-double, can never talk you off of that. Outside of that, it's just, again, it just feels like it's going to be one of those series and possibilities that a player has one great game. The supporting cast, I mean, the guys like the Austin Reeves of the world, the Michael Porter Juniors of the world, the Rui Hachimuras of the world, that they had that one great game. It's just kind of hard to figure out which game that's going to be. But again, you want to play your main stars, even that, I mentioned that those numbers are inflated, but just the number of minutes as those guys are going to be playing, like the volume is going to be there for those guys as well. So I'd probably look at LeBron PRA. I think he has a big game. His buddy Scott Foster will be on the game. I'm conspiracy guy, so I think LeBron has a big game here.
I might take LeBron turnovers now that I actually think about it. Just trying to find what number I want. I can't ignore 7 turnovers in game 1. I know LeBron historically has been willing to dominate possession of the ball, and he doesn't have a choice because AD, as much as I like him as a player, they're going to have to set him up in the post, and he's going to have to make some post moves. But when it comes to actually ball handling, LeBron's the main decision maker on the team. And with that being the case, and with the amount of minutes he's going to play, I have to consider the over for turnovers. I mean, it's 3.5.
Yeah.
It's at -142, but I got to like the over for that. I see Joker turnovers are at 3.5. I got to take the under. They had 4 turnovers combined as an entire team in game 1. I can't assume Joker's going to have 4 turnovers by himself. I mean, under 3.5 turnovers is -115. Joker in game 1 had a grand total of 0 turnovers in 39 minutes. I'll take Joker under turnovers. 3.5. Give me the under. That's a crazy high number.
All right. Anything else for this game?
No. I thought about Reggie Jackson under in every single stat, but his points are at like 3.5 or 4.5.
Yeah.
You know my thoughts on him. I think he belongs out of the league. So I don't mind unders, but 3.5 is pushing
unders?
it.
What about Dinwiddie unders?
Darvin, I don't know if he has blackmail like photos of Darvin Ham, or they just felt like since they signed him during a buyout period, they have to play him. Dinwiddie actually plays double-digit minutes. I don't know why. I think he's a terrible player. People remember, if you've been listening to the show for a long time, for this year, as a Nets fan, I was roasting Dinwiddie the entire year. I've been calling him washed for about 7 months. So I know he can't play. Like, I've seen Dinwiddie play, but the point is he still gets minutes. Reggie Jackson only gets minutes so Jamal Murray can get oxygen, and then he comes out of the game. So my concern is that Darvin Ham just loves playing Dinwiddie when he belongs actually out of the league. I know I've been like roasting Reggie Jackson. At least he put up stats. Dinwiddie arguably should be in Europe. Like, I think you'd agree with me based on watching him play since he came over to the Lakers. He's
Yeah.
not an NBA player.
No.
So,
No.
yeah.
I agree. All right. All right, so that's the third game on the schedule here tonight for the NBA. Scott, I thought we'd change it up a little bit as far as our lock and dog go. We'll still do a lock, but maybe we throw like a prop instead of a
Okay.
dog because again, there's only 3 games to really pick from. Unless you really do have a dog that you like, you can throw that out there. But I think lock and prop may be a little bit more appropriate for the playoffs. So you want to lead us off?
Sure. For my lock, I'll go to what is not broken. Give me the under 203 into that Magic and Cavs game. I said I'm going to bet it every game. I just, full disclosure, said that I'm going to bet every under until one of these games go over. 59 points in the first quarter and you land 180. That's almost impossible. Under 38 points in 2 straight quarters, which is nuts. I got to take the under. Orlando can't score in the half court. Cleveland had Mitchell play very well, and they still only scored 97 points. Like, I think this total's too high. Give me the under at 203 as my lock. For my prop, I mean, does it have to be plus money or can it be just any prop?
No, it can be any prop. It doesn't have to be plus money.
Okay, I want to quickly see what Joker triple-double is just for price. It's 165. I don't hate it. I'm going to go with Joker under 3.5 turnovers as my
All
main
right.
prop. That's an insane number at minus 115. The entire team had 4 turnovers in game 1, and now Joker needs 4 turnovers by himself. That's an insane prop for game 2. Give me Joker under 3.5 turnovers at minus 115.
Love it. All right. For my lock, I think it's Lakers early again for me.
I don't have
Again,
a
if
choice.
this, yeah, I mean, again, if they come out flat and this game is close to double digits by halftime, I don't trust Darvin Ham to make adjustments going into the second half. But I think at least for the first half, I think they can come out here and play good or play well, I should say. So Lakers first half is +4. I also don't hate the over in the first half either, 115.5. But officially I'll throw out the Lakers +4, but I also will be playing that first half over as my lock. For my player prop, Embiid threes are it's a little too juiced now at beyond minus 140. I think Jalen Brunson has a bounce back game.
Josh Hart rebounds.
Yeah, I mean that has been so good to me. Like that's probably like my MVP of this season as far as my player
Close game or
props go.
blowout. Josh Hart's playing 40 minutes, so just strap
Yeah,
in.
I think that even if they're up by 20 points, that Tom Thibodeau is going to have him out there
Just in case.
for just in case. So yeah, I'll go with Josh Hart rebounds. That's now 11.5 at +124. You could probably find a 10.5 out there for Josh Hart on his rebounds here. And again, both Scott and I are expecting this to be a lower scoring game, a rock fight, half court offense. So Josh Hart, 40 plus minutes locked in at minimum. And I think that's going to only propel him to get those rebounds here tonight. And it is at plus money right now, 11.5, currently over on DraftKings, +124, over 11.5 rebounds.
Did you see the anonymous NBA player poll today where they were voting on like who's the most overrated player in the league and all these other categories?
I did not.
There was a category that they do every year. Who's the coach that you'd least like to play for? And Thibodeau won for the 3rd straight year.
Oh, boy.
And one of the arguments from the anonymous player was he'll play everybody 48 minutes. So there you go. So,
oh man, that's when
just
you
thought that was worth mentioning. Thibodeau officially won coach you'd least like to play for the 3rd straight year.
That's hilarious. All right, let's do our underdog fantasy entry here for tonight, Scott. 3 games on the schedule, and we'll put our underdog fantasy entry here together. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you guys use that promo code NBA SGPN. Get you a first deposit bonus of up to $100, courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. All right. Where do we want to start here, Scott?
Well, you mentioned Hart rebounds, so I'm not gonna.
Are you on board with that?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Of course, he's my favorite role player in the league.
Maybe we get a 10.5 here.
That's one of the
Let's
only
see.
players whose agenda was actually positive for me, and that's aged like fine wine over the last year and a half. I'm just such a big Josh Hart guy.
Josh Hart is at 11.5 rebounds. It's a little spicy at 1.1,
Sure.
but we'll throw that in there. All right, where else do we want to go here for tonight?
I still like Joker lower than for turnovers if they have it. I just find it insane to me that the entire team had 4 turnovers in game 1 and his line's at 3.5. Like I
Let's
think that's
see.
just an insane line.
Jokic turnovers lower than 3.5. We'll throw that one in there. All right, and then let's do one more.
You want to go Jonathan Isaac steals and blocks?
You want to go Spencer Dinwiddie lower 2.5 points?
I can't do that because he's gonna attempt at least 1 3-pointer, and I don't want to sweat out every shot attempt. And Scott Foster might give him a foul call out of pity, so you
That's
never
true
know.
too.
But
I'm sorry. What did you mention there before
I mentioned Jonathan Isaac steals and blocks, but
Oh yeah,
I don't know if I think it's at like 3.5 though, so I don't know if you want it, but he had 6 in game 1. He's an absolute monster on defense.
yeah, and he's going to play the minutes as well. So
I said it before, he has to. Like
yeah.
Orlando can't score either way. You'd at least need the great defense.
Yep. All right, he's there. 3.5 blocks and steals combined will go higher on that. All right. So our underdog fantasy entry here for tonight will go Josh Hart higher, 11.5 rebounds. That's a little spicy at 1.1 on the higher. We'll go Nikola Jokic, the Joker, lower, 3.5 turnovers. And we'll go Jonathan Isaac higher, 3.5 blocks and steals combined. That $10 entry will get you a return of $66 if all three of those do in fact end up winning for our entry here tonight. Again, just to recap, Josh Hart higher 11.5 rebounds, Nikola Jokic lower 3.5 turnovers, and Jonathan Isaac higher 3.5 blocks and steals combined. $10 entry gets you $66 courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Not really. As for my futures, my main play was on the Knicks to win the series, so let's win game 2, bing bong.
There you go. It's going to be should be a lot of fun here tonight, obviously, with the playoffs here. Game 2s, we got 3 different games on the schedule. We'll come back tomorrow, same place, same time. I know a lot of guys will be getting tweets and things like that. We'll keep it consistent here. It's just difficult to do the night shows because I don't know, everybody wants to watch the games, and we really kind of want the results as well from the previous night to talk about on the pod the next day. But maybe we'll have a weekend Friday night show for the Saturday games because they do start early. So we'll keep you guys posted. Again, this is a great reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, as well as following us on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. That's at SGPN NBA. If you guys haven't already left us a rating and review, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on Apple, wherever you do get your podcasts, please make sure to leave us a rating and review. You can follow Scott on Twitter. That's at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Scott and I will be back tomorrow. Same place, same time. We'll recap what we saw tonight, and then we'll get into the games for the Tuesday schedule as well. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.